Lex Luthor. So it wasn't until I watched this series that I realized the name Lex Luthor. Lex is short for Alexander. I thought that was just his name, was just Lex. Did you know the name Alexander means defender of mankind? So there's an episode in season 1. There's some scene where Clark is like talking to Lex about, I don't even know, he needs romance advice or something, and he asks Lex if he's ever been in love. And Lex effectively tells him no. This is, I believe, after the Victoria incident. And Lex has a line where he just says, some people are meant to be alone. And I think this is key to his character arc in the series. Is he right? Is he wrong? How is he right? How is he wrong? I would amend it a little bit and just say, I don't really think that people are meant to be alone in an absolute sense, but definitely, some people are designed to be in potentially lonely places. And if they are one of those people, they have to be okay with being alone or even being hated, at least some of the time. In a way that other people, I think, are not. I think more people in humanity are not designed for that. More people are designed to have people around them all the time and to be surrounded with a lot of love and not with hate. Whether or not they get it is a different question, but that's what I think they're designed for. But there are some people that are designed to be in lonely places. I'm not really even going to argue this. Hierarchy is real. Most definitely, there is natural hierarchy. And in humans, it is not solely or even primarily based on physical prowess, which means any inclination to say, well, Clark is obviously alpha is totally BS. Also, Clark isn't actually a human. So if we were to throw him onto Krypton, are we sure he wouldn't be like beta as heck? I'm personally inclined to think he would be, but that's also not the question I'm discussing here. In any case, the Luthors in general, and yes, Lex in this video I'm talking about, is absolutely designed to be alpha. But that doesn't mean that he's meant to be alone. It means that he's meant to be okay with being alone. There is a distinction there. What does top hierarchy material look like in people? Well, let's take a look at Lex. He's smarter, he thinks faster, he notices more. He has greater understanding. He actively seeks understanding. He's more rational. He's less ruled by his emotions. And subtle distinction here. Although people who are more inclined to be rational tend to be less ruled by their emotions, it's not guaranteed. So you can have somebody who is not particularly inclined to be rational, who nevertheless is not ruled by their emotions. And you can also have somebody who is inclined to be rational, who nevertheless is ruled by their emotions. But I'm saying Lex is inclined to be rational and also less ruled by his emotions than, for example, Clark. He has greater intellectual courage. He's more courageous in general. He takes greater personal risks. He shows less fear. He tells fewer lies. He's more likely to fess up about something he's screwed up on. He's more inclined to take responsibility. He's more honest. And yes, if you pay attention, at very least in the early seasons, Lex is more honest than Clark is. Fewer lies, less gaslighting, and he just demonstrates a greater concern for the truth in general. He's bothered more by the lies and gaslighting. He emphasizes the need for there to be honesty in any workable relationship with another person. That comes up over and over again. Lex talks about that over and over again. You don't get that from Clark. Clark is just consistently lying over and over and over again to the people he claims to want to have some kind of a relationship with. Lex is a lot less self-obsessed. He's more other-oriented. So with Clark, everything is revolving around himself. Even the times that he's in relationships with other people, it's all very much connected to what he wants in the moment, what his feelings are telling him to do in the moment. Does he feel like kissing this girl? He kisses that girl. Feels like kissing this other girl today? Well, now he wants to go back and be with Lana, and then he wants to go be with Kyla, and then he wants to be with Felice or Elise or whatever her name was, and just like very self-obsessed. It's so quick. Clark is so quick to just totally forget about other people and not be paying attention to how his actions are affecting other people. Lex is not like that. He pays more attention to other people and he's more conscientious of other people. He's more empathetic. He just has a greater ability to be more conscientious and to be conscious of people outside of himself and how his actions are affecting the people around him, short and long term. One thing I think is interesting too, and I think a sign of top hierarchy material, some people who have suffered a lot in their past take their suffering and use it as like an excuse to hurt other people or to act like, well, I suffered, so now you get to suffer too. People who are more top hierarchy material, I think, tend to be to look at their past suffering and say, I dealt with these terrible things, and now I want to make sure nobody else has to deal with it. That, like, and we see this, like, you know, he had a very, very terrible family life growing up. So what do we see? He's very conscious of wanting to support the Kents in a family life that looks good and positive. He wants to help them. He wants them to maintain good relationships. He wants Clark to have a good relationship with his parents because, you know, he didn't have that with his parents. He doesn't have that with his father. And that, again, also demonstrates greater empathy. He's more self-reflective. He's more aware of his own vices. He's more deliberate in the pursuit of virtues. He's less hypocritical. He's more consistent in the things he claims to believe and that shows up in his actions. He's not fickle. He's got a huge capacity to endure suffering, abuse, etc. without falling apart or losing respect for himself. That's also a sign of top hierarchy material. And by the way, when I'm talking about top hierarchy, I'm talking about people who were designed to lead, people who were designed to be in charge, people who were designed to take care of other people. And they have to be stronger. They have to be greater. They have to be more other-oriented to do that, to fill that role. But for people who are built for that kind of a role, it's really important for their own sake and for the sake of the people that they're built to take care of, to help, to be a support to, that they are willing to face forward, walk forward, and not constantly be checking to make sure people are following them, to not constantly be checking to make sure they're not going to end up alone. To not be afraid to make decisions that people lower in the hierarchy might hate them for. And this is, I think, the main stumbling block for Lex. This is what he's struggling with. Lex is still afraid to be alone. He's still afraid to be hated. He looks at his father and he sees his father as something contemptible and that his father is the cause of his own suffering. That his father's own suffering is his own fault. And Lex hasn't yet gotten to the maturity level where he sees his father as a survivor too, who has found high functioning, intense loneliness as the only path he can take in the world, rather than like the way I think he sees his father now is you freely chose this because, you know, you're a loser. That's not really what happened to Lionel. Lex really doesn't want people to hate him. And that's a very dangerous place for an entire human society. For you can't have the people that are designed to lead and to be in charge afraid of being hated by the people that they're supposed to be taking care of. Just a more clear example of this. Basic hierarchy relationship is a parent and a child, right? Really, really basic there. If you have a parent who's so afraid of their child hating them that they are constantly trying to placate the child and do what pleases the child and just, I want the child to not hate me, to not reject me, to not say that they don't love me. If you have a parent doing that, what will end up happening? First of all, sooner or later, the parent is going to make a decision that harms the child. And eventually, the child is going to grow up and the parent is going to end up with a kid who is not safe or protected and also hates them. So the best chance a parent has of a child loving them is to make the best decisions for the child, even if it feels like the kid is going to hate them. And that's the best chance they have of fulfilling their role as a parent and also of gaining the child's love ultimately. And if you are someone who's built for that role, that upper hierarchy, and you let yourself be ruled by this fear of being hated, you will end up, the people who you're supposed to be taking care of will lose all respect for you, and you're going to end up harming them, neglecting them, harming them some way or another. And you'll end up alone anyways. Your best bet of having people around you that you can actually trust, which is what Lex, I think, desperately wants, is you embracing what you are, making the tough decisions that might get you hated, walking forward, paying attention to what you need to pay attention to, even if it means other people get upset or act like you're neglecting us or we resent you or you're not doing what we want you to do. You can't let that distract you from what you're supposed to be doing. And this is sort of tangential, but it makes me think of that, the Orpheus and, is it Eurydice? Eurydice. He so badly wanted his wife with him again that he looked back. He had to just check to make sure she was coming with him. But that's exactly what kept them apart. If he had just done what he was supposed to do, fulfilled his duty, and just kept walking, he wouldn't have ended up alone. She would have been with him. She was there behind him. But because he got distracted by those feelings of that fear of being alone, of her not following, he turned around and lost her forever. So if you're top hierarchy material, like Lex, if you keep trying to please and placate the people who are underneath you, to convince them to come with you, to convince them to love you, to convince them not to hate you, they will lose all respect for you and you will end up alone and unfulfilled. And I think this is the character arc that young Lex is faced with.